Hello, welcome back. Video number 4 after a very long time. Today I want to talk about the classics. What makes them so hard to get through? What makes them so hard to read? The number of times I've picked some up and really struggled with it and given up 10%, 15% of the way through. My nemesis in this regard is Nathaniel Hawthorne's The House of the Seven Gables. I've picked it up so many times, and each time I've read maybe 10 or 20 pages more than I did the earlier time, but I've never completed the book. It just, I'm just unable to get through it. And maybe you have your own personal nemesis and books that you struggle with. But the classics are a different breed of difficulty in themselves, right? Sure, the obvious reasons are the style of writing, the language. It's a very different way, it's a very different style, and it's very hard to connect with that. The second is, of course, the time and the era, the period it is set in. It's very hard for us to connect with the character set in that era. We don't understand we can't fully immerse ourselves in that culture and society. Well, those are the common reasons, but I tend to look at it slightly differently. I've come up with my own three different reasons, three or four, I don't know, I have to check. Three reasons that I think stop me from getting through the classics. And maybe some of these will resonate with you as well. And I hope to close by, if I have enough time, to close with three or four tips on how we can possibly together negotiate these hurdles. First, I think it's simply a matter of lack of practice. We don't have practice reading difficult texts. We don't have practice reading complex sentences. We've lost the ability to hold a long sentence in our head with multiple clauses and have complex ideas in our head and be able to process them for a long amount of time. And I think enough has been written about this, and I have my own personal rant on this matter. But I think a large part of it is because of what they call the shrinking attention span. Most of it is because of social media. Of course, the fact that every blog article now needs to tell you, hey, it's only a 2 minute read or a 3 minute read, and anything above 4 or 5 minutes seems like too much of a time investment. And at least I sometimes tend to skip it. Too long didn't read is, I believe, is a very famous thing now. I'm catching up. So it's simply a lack of practice. We've stopped reading difficult books, and it's become harder and harder the more we consume short form content, easier writing, lighter writing, synopsis, things given to us in AI, AI crystallized form, which is, I don't know what it is. It's not neither a summary nor a précis, and it pretty much tells you what you need to know without having to read any kind of read an article of any length. The second thing, apart from practice and not being used to it, is a sense of reward. Now, there is a dopamine hit when you complete something, and when you're plowing through a 700-page book, that dopamine hit is going to take a long time to reach you. It may take you, God knows on how fast you read, but it may take you a month easily to get there. We are not used to that. When we read a page or two, hold on, this light suddenly went off. I hope to fix it because I don't want to stop this video. This is my 200th take easily. And if I stop now, I have to start again. And I don't want to keep cutting and editing and pasting. Okay, we are back. Where was I? The dopamine hit is going to reach you much later. We are so used to reading a short piece, and once it is complete, there's a sense of, okay, I've read something, and there's a feel good, right? But that's not going to happen with War and Peace, for instance. It's a constant war, and you're waiting for the dopamine hit, which is going to take some time. So we can't wait. It is difficult for us to sit and wait because you're so used to instant gratification. shorter books at least give you a quicker sense of progress and momentum. When you're compiling a list of how many books have I read this year, am I making progress, oh this week I haven't read anything, or this month I haven't read anything, it's easy and nice to just quickly flip through a shorter book, and that gives you a sense of completion, and at least it gives you a sense that okay, you're moving forward, you're reading. And to this personally, I'm like, it's okay, that's good. If you're getting back to a reading habit after a very long time, it makes sense to pick up a shorter read, a collection of short stories for instance, or anything, a novella, and go through that just to get back into the habit. But the thing is, if you're only chasing adding books to hey, the number of books I've read this year, if you're just looking to increase that count, it becomes easier to choose shorter books, right? So that the count increases. And finally, I think it is a lack of patience. Um, I mean, the classics are famous for their digressions, right? Uh, Again, I keep going back to War and Peace. There are longer than other classics apart from that. I think it is Hunchback of Notre Dame, where Victor Hugo goes into uh, detailed discussions of the sewer system in Paris, which has nothing to do with the story. But hey, it's there. So we simply don't have patience. If we don't see that it has any connection to the story, or if it doesn't have anything important, we will skip it. We don't want to go through the pain and the labors of reading through it. And a perceived sense of value is not met, right? What we think we should get is not, it's not delivered by that book. So there's a lack of patience. We don't want to sit, we don't want to listen to the descriptions, an explanation, and essay on the society at that time before we dive into the story. Grapes of Wrath does that. The chapters are interspersed with short pieces on chapters on the society, on what was happening, the migration from east to west. So, and which really, I mean, of course it is connected to the story, but it does not connect it to the plot of the story if you go by that. So we don't have practice. We've stopped reading these kind of books, uh, by which I mean the classics. We don't have practice. We cannot wait. um, there's no instant reward. It comes after a month, so our body gets impatient, our mind is impatient. uh, we are very often we are chasing a sense of progress and movement on how many books can I add to my list. And finally it is this lack of patience, saying, man, this book is, there's too many digressions over here, just get on with the story. But we don't have the patience to just sit, go with the journey, and see where the writer takes us. Okay, I've spoken for 8 minutes, I have a few more minutes left. Okay, so I don't think, and while I'm talking about this, this is as much a suggestion and exhortation to you as it is a reminder to me, that why I find classics difficult. Now, there is no way that I can give you rational reasons, logical reasons why it makes sense, why going back to the classics and reading some of them has a lot of value. I cannot hit you over the head with Crime and Punishment and say, here, read this, if you don't want to. And Crime and Punishment is not a very big book, by the way. It is not. Difficult, yes. Of course, difficult books need not all be big and long, and not all big and long books are difficult. Heart of Darkness, for instance, it is so thin that if you dropped it, it would leave a crater the size of a planet on the planet. Anyway, that didn't go. I don't know where I was going with that, but it's a very heavy book. It's a very difficult book. There's lots of nuance in it. There's a lot of layers to it, but it's a very small book. Now, I'm not saying all small books, all short books are meaningless. Of course, I'm not. Obviously, that would be a stupid thing to say. There are some phenomenal books that deliver a punch in just those right number of pages, and I'm going to do a whole video on those books. But I'm saying that I can't give you rational reasons. I can't give you logical reasons why you should go to the classics, because every reader's journey is going to be very different. And if you continuing the metaphor of a journey, everybody will stop at different landmarks. Everybody will pause at different places to take in a different view. Something might trigger a memory for you. For example, in say A Tale of Two Cities, something you read would stir a memory, or bring something to mind, or you might make a connection that is uniquely yours, and it'll be something, and I may do something very different with it. I may pause at a different part in the book and pause to think and linger, and something that catches my attention. So the journey is very different for every reader. And I do not know, nobody will be able to tell you what your journey with that classic is going to be like. Nobody will be able to tell you what you will get from it. Nobody will be able to tell you where you will find it. And it is that process of discovery that the classics um, have. They invite you this journey, and you can be assured that you will find treasures along the way. It is just that nobody will tell you what those treasures are. You'll have to go, you'll have to find it yourself. There's that famous saying, it is in the walking that the path is made. And I think that's very true. It is as you read that you will. Oh, my light is going off again. Never mind. It is as you read that you will find why that book is special for you and what is special in that book for you. Let me try one more time. I do want to be visible to my viewers. That's why I'm on video. So, let us go. Let quickly three tips to help us get through the classics. Think about the classics, right? Charles Dickens, his stories were episodic. They came out weekly, and it was never published as one book. Maybe eventually later they compiled it, but when it first came out, it was serialized. And maybe that's a good way to approach the classics also. Instead of trying to get through significant chunks every day, go at it chapter by chapter, but consistently. Treat it like a show that you're watching, right? If you watch an episode a day, here read an episode of Tale of Two Cities or Great Expectations. So try taking an episodic approach, serialize it for yourself, go chapter by chapter. And second, understand when you feel that resistance to give up. That is precisely when you need to just tell yourself, I'm going to read, every time I feel the resistance, I will read one paragraph more, or one page more, or just one sentence more. Push past that resistance. It is resistance training. It is like going to the gym. And you have to practice. And the more, if you give up over here, like I did with Nathaniel Hawthorne, I'm never going to be able to make progress. But when you meet resistance, acknowledge that resistance, understand where it is coming from. It is not the problem with the book. It is a problem with our inability to deal with the book. It is our lack of practice, and push past that. And finally, do not stop and pause if when a book is difficult. Not the resistance, but if something is not clear, something doesn't make sense, you don't understand what's happening, it's confusing, it's all over, that's okay. Do not try to understand everything the first time. I did this other thing the other time that was really interesting. It says when we encounter a book that is more than us, we know we are in a good place, because that's when you rise and you lift yourself up to meet that book. If you're only reading literature that is below us, then there is no expectation, there is no demand on us to rise, to evolve, to understand, or to work our brains more to understand the book. So I think it's always good to have books that challenge us, that are slightly above us, and just kind of pull us up and expect us to jump and reach that standard. So don't stop if you don't get something. Just keep reading, move on. Maybe it'll become clearer as you go along. Maybe you can come back to it, but don't stop, don't pause. Well, I think that's about it. I've already rambled for 15 minutes. So that's it. Classics. Woohoo! Let's go get buy all the second-hand classics and read it. Ciao.